Hello folks, so I'm going to talk about the options within InDesign that are going to help you out in many instances. Say for instance you have a situation where a client you're working on a 120-page catalog, and they actually come to you and you spent 2 weeks kind of like laying out this catalog, and they come to you and say, hey, I want to move page 72 through 84 to after page 21. Well, in certain instances, if you don't know InDesign, you'd probably create these blank pages after 21 and then copy and paste each individual page over into after that, and then rearrange everything, and it just becomes more of a pain to do that. However, if you do know InDesign, you know that there is actually some functionality within InDesign that will help you achieve these goals rather simply. So what I'm going to show you today is pretty much what is called the page palette. So if I'm looking at this particular document, I went ahead and I've created all the 8 pages here. I manually numbered each one of those pages. And if I go over to my pages palette over here on the right, you're going to see that there's a pages tab. And you'll see that each one of these pages are numbered, and each one of those will go ahead and kind of show you a little mini preview of what that's each on those pages. So pages palette works. So let's say I do want to rearrange some pages in here, and it's simply as easy as this. So if I take one and I just kind of move it over into certain locations, whether I go in between pages, if I go over here and go just after that, or go up here, you'll see that what's happening is I'm putting these lines in, and then wherever that line is where it's placing those pages, and it will shift everything. So it's like if I were to go ahead and rearrange these things back, I can go ahead and do that as simply as this. So basically it's not that hard to do, but what it does allow it to do is to move things in those particular pages into other areas and shift everything, which could save you hours of work. Now, there is one thing to keep in mind, though, however. It's like, let's say, for instance, you're going ahead and drawing, and you have this blue bar that goes across the each page. So let's say I choose a blue bar like that. Okay. So you like that blue bar, and you thought, okay, you designed elements that work on both pages, that work with this blue bar, and then the client asks you to move these pages. So it's like, I'm going to move page 2 after page 7, let's say, for instance. Okay. So you know that blue bar was on page 3, right? But you see that what's happening here is there's no blue bar there. Where'd the blue bar go? Well, that blue bar followed 2, which was a page that you moved, but the whole thing moved with it. Alright, so keep in mind when that happens. So it's like if I were to undo that and go back to here, what I usually try and do is if there's even an ounce of being able to shift pages around, I make sure that certain elements are on each of those pages. So if I have a blue bar that goes across on this spread, if I just make it come over here and do that, and I'll go to Edit and Copy and Paste in Place, you're going to put a copy of that particular blue bar on top of the other one. I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it across there. So I've got technically 2 pieces of this blue bar, but there's kind of on each one of those pages. So now when I go ahead and move page 2 after page 7, you see that the blue bar does stay with 3, but you can make little minor adjustments to make it coincide with those pages rather easily. To make it work better for what you're working on here. Okay. So that all works fine and dandy. Great. Now, what if I had a certain situation where I had a particular client who wanted web pages on the left page and a phone number on each of the right side pages? So in those instances, it's like, okay, if you don't know InDesign, you probably will create each of these web addresses and phone numbers on each of the pages, and you would copy and paste throughout a 120-page catalog. Okay. Well, you get all done with that, and the client says, well, no, that's the wrong web address. I want this one instead. So 120 pages divided by 2 is about 60 pages that you have to change that web address on. Now, InDesign does have a feature of find and replace, sure, but in many cases, what if it was a graphic? That would have to be changed on each of those 60 pages. Well, in certain cases, what we have is basically what is called like template pages. And each of these template pages do have consistent elements that will be on every page. So where are those? Well, up here at the top of the Pages palette, you got where it says None, and then there's this A parent. If I go ahead and double click on that, you'll see that I'm brought to this page, which is none of the A pages that are here, but you can see that they are still intact. They're still here. It's just now I am in a template page. So if I wanted to add in, let's say, a web address on this side, let's say I go ahead and add this one, something.com, and I go ahead and increase this particular web address just so you guys can see it just fine. All right, say something.com, and I go copy and paste, and then I put a phone number, 989-123-4567. All right. So you got a phone number on all the right side pages. We got a web address on all the left side pages. Okay, so that's great. Awesome. So I got those. Now, how do I get back into my other pages? As you can see in the template, you see on these pages, you'll see that there's a little black bar here that is now showing up. That particularly means that there's something there. Now, to get back to these particular pages, all you have to do is just double click on one. And you'll see that there is a web address and a phone number. Web address, phone number, web address, phone number. So if I wanted to go ahead and let's say change it, I can go back to my template and change it to something else. And go back here, see that it's changed on every page. Now, what if the client wants us to have, okay, well, page 3, or what we're going to call page 3, what if I wanted that actually to be something.com? Okay, so if I have anything.com, right, that's down here, and it's like, okay, well, I want to change that. So we simply like think, okay, well, great, I'll go to my text tool, and then I'll go ahead and try and click on it, double click on it, nothing, and go to black arrow, go here, double click on it, and nothing's happening. Because it is currently locked. That is why it is like that. So how do we fix that? Well, if I go to Shift Control on a PC or Shift Command on a Mac, and I click, you can see that what it does, it will basically break that from the template page. So I can go ahead and put down something instead of anything there, and it will change there, but it won't change anywhere else. So that's a way of breaking away from there, if I so wanted to. Now, what if I wanted to go ahead and say that, okay, I want to include page numbers on every page. Now, if you remember back to when I was rearranging pages, and you manually put in page numbers, that may be a little bit of a problem. Because if you rearrange pages, all your page numbers throughout the whole entire document are going to be off. So you have to rename them, or renumber them, or whatever, manually, if that's what you did. Now, you can do this. There's a way of getting around that. And it can be done in the template pages, or it can be done on each individual page as well. So if I double click on the template page, and I put my text box here, okay, and I increase my type size to, let's say, 30, just so you guys can see it. And I go up to Type, Insert Special Characters, and there's an option called Markers. If I choose Markers and hit Current Page Number, it'll put in an A. Now, this A actually refers to this A prefix that is on here, A parent. So it's like, basically, A is this A parent. And then I can go ahead and I can copy that and paste it. And then I can kind of like change it to go to the other side. Just like so. I go to my Pages palette, or Pages palette, yep. And I double click on the number. You'll see that each of these pages now have, instead of A, they refer to each one of the page numbers that are involved. Makes things look a whole lot easier and nicer. So it's like when I go ahead and start rearranging things, just like so. I'm just going to mess it all up somehow. Okay, just like so. You'll see that all the page numbers still may remain intact. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. That's how the Pages palette works. I encourage you to go ahead and kind of play around with it and see what else you can do with it. Till next time.